что, друзья, рада вас приветствовать на Лиссабонской неделе дизайна 2025. Но прежде чем мы начнем и окунемся в водоворот событий, мне хотелось бы сделать небольшой дисклеймер и немного поговорить о том, что вообще такое Лиссабонская неделя дизайна, какая у нее есть специфика и чем она отличается от других недель по всему миру. Смотрите, Лиссабонская неделя, помимо того, что она очень молодая, ей всего 3 года в этом году, она нацелена не на привлечение в страну туристов, иностранцев, а на то, чтобы раскачать ситуацию прежде всего внутри страны, на то, чтобы здесь создать комьюнити дизайнеров, архитекторов, галеристов, ремесленников, на то, чтобы участники внутри этого комьюнити начали взаимодействовать между собой, на то, чтобы рождались интересные коллаборации. Организаторы этой недели делают очень большое дело, потому что на сегодня большинство этих коллабораций они создают, придумывают, продюсируют, помогают им случиться. Второй интересный нюанс состоит в том, что неделя дизайна в Лиссабоне на сегодняшний день является абсолютно независимой. То есть она не контролируется государством, она не спонсируется какими-то настолько большими брендами, которые определяли бы ее политику. И это очень хорошо, потому что это помогает организаторам создавать интересный, в первую очередь, творческий результат. И поэтому вдвойне ценно сегодня находиться прямо здесь и наблюдать за тем, как рождается, по сути, такой большой культурный феномен. Конечно, все 100 локаций я вам сегодня не покажу, но мне будет очень приятно, если вы присоединитесь к нашему путешествию и досмотрите это видео до конца. Поехали!
We are pleased to present our second edition, Perception and Matter. We brought you here to a much more intimate space than last year. We want people to feel that we are all together and we can coexist. We wanted to speak about the tension between art world and design world. Designers start to call themselves artists because they do one-off pieces. What is the industrial design role right now? Things are shifting. There are more unique, limited editions. It's changing, and there is a tension here. Because when I would put a sculpture in the middle of the room, people would be like, I like it or not. I can feel it in some way, but if I would put chair, people would start asking questions like, oh, is it comfortable? Why is it in the middle of the room? Does it fit the surrounding? Oh, it's made of this wood, probably it's easy to scratch or doesn't feel or look comfortable. So we wanted to bring the objects here in the manner of theatrical, so people will see the objects by their shape rather than by their function. That's why we gathered very different objects from very different designers to see this contrast and for people to perceive more the shape and the form of the objects rather than asking so many attached questions to the functional objects.
after exploring Portugal material like stone, we decided to work with Xisto, which is a quite interesting material, and also because the Xisto is extracted exactly in a region which is in between two UNESCO sites. So these paleolithic engravements on the Xisto are quite interesting because they've been through 30,000 years, made on the rocks, and it's the biggest paleolithic open air site in Europe. On the other side you have Douro Valley, and also in the region of Coa Valley, which is actually connecting. The Coa River is going on the Douro. We have vineyards which are growing on the Xisto soil. The wine is quite tough, the wine roots are quite tough and strong, and they are going through the cracks of Xisto, which is full of these cracks because it's a metamorphic rock made with sedimentation through over a million years. And after movement of the earth, there are some cracks which are vertical. So you have this kind of horizontal and vertical sedimentation. The horizontal one is doing all the rigidity of the stone. That's why we can have like a 2 meters high stick like this one, which is also used in the wine environment because they were using this previously before wood to make the sticks for the wine to do the vineyards. Also interesting because in this area precisely they decided to create a dam in the 90s, and it has been a big conflict in Portugal because they discovered also at the same time the paleolithic engravement on the stone. So basically if the dam was built, we would never see again this one of the biggest open air site of engravements. So there were a conflict, but the dam has begun to be built. So there is a part of it which is still there that you can see on the film, which has this kind of very mystical, strange atmosphere, and all the collection is based on these different elements. So we take part of the idea of this verticality of the sticks which are used in the vineyard. We also work with the silex to engrave these stones to pay tribute to the engravements, because we worked with the Museum of Coa Valley, which has been created after the protection of the site and the fight they did against the construction of the dam, and they have been able to create a museum dedicated to this site. And we work closely with the director to work on the technique we can use for the engravement, because they did all the study in it. And the drawings here is actually the projection of the Coa Valley river, where everything happens, because it's actually something you couldn't see 40,000 years ago, but now we can see with our satellites and everything. So we have another vision. Basically, the Paleolithic time, they were engraving on the rocks animals that were seen along the river. They were following the animals, and they were encountering each other. It was quite interesting. It was kind of an open air art school, kind of first prime writing element. And after that, they began to do it on little stone they were bringing with them. So it was more nomadic art. But at the beginning, it was really literally something, and they were selecting each rock, protected from the rain or the element of the erosion, to be sure that this will stay forever. So it's also super interesting that at this time they are also the mind that things are going to last, and they were doing it for future generation.
firstly started with the first part of the process, which is the context analysis. We always, in every project, whether it's architecture, interiors, product, we always identify what is interesting for us as a context, a geographical, historical, geological, whatever. So in this case, for the scent, we ask every member of the team to give us a sort of a smell reference of their childhood. So the first content we have there, almost as a library, it has the different elements that are connecting our team as a reference, because we are all designers, all of us have a different background, different experiences, and we all, when we are designing, we are consciously or unconsciously intervening with our background, with our memories, our past. The glass works as almost as a non-material, which is a support or a surface for all of the different elements that we are trying to convey. So in this case, we split into 3 different sections. These are the introductory notes of a scent, the body or the heart, and the end notes. Like any other perfume, that's how it's made. So from here, from the concept, we move into concept design, which in our projects generally is a translation from an idea into something that is achievable. If we're doing interiors, we start putting that into a visual interpretation of what the concept is. As the scent is the materials that create a scent. So all the notes that we're going to work from in order to achieve a final product. Then we move into the concept design, which in a normal architectural or product design product is where we go through the testing. So here we have the testing of the mix of these ingredients, and here we have written some of these ingredients that made these tests possible. And then we move into the execution and final product, which is this element here, which is actual scent, you can smell it. The reason why we've done this installation with this roll going in there, it's to kind of tell how our process is linear to some extent. This is almost a blank canvas and we're acting and intervening on. But at the same time, we wanted this to be transparent, so when you see it from, for instance, here, you can look back into the whole process and you can overlay all of the different steps to our creative thought.
based in Portugal for 3 years. I started my company 3 years ago, and the ethos is to try and push for a more sustainable luxury brand in furniture without having to compromise on the luxury, but also finding a balance between old techniques and new materials and new techniques. It's a fine line, but I'll show you some pieces where I find that balance, I think. So I moved here into this space a year and a half ago, and it's my studio, my showroom. There's an atelier at the back where we sort of sculpt and paint, and my approach is very hands-on. So with stone, I like to carve prototypes. I do a lot of bronze casting, where it starts with me really sculpting the pieces and then sending it and developing it in the foundry. And everything is an example of handcrafted pieces. So the rug, for example, it's entirely hand-woven. It has it's a simple rug, but it's a perfect background. It has zero electricity in the production process. So there's no machines, they work during daylight hours, so there's no lighting either. It's just a way of sort of finding or demonstrating how it is possible, if you really want to cut out some of the impact on the environment that isn't really necessary all the time. And the same approach is with a lot of suppliers. I work with a lot of Portuguese. I try to find the best of what I need in terms of woodworkers or stonemasons or foundries. If I can't find it in Portugal, and I've tried a lot, I find the next best thing. So in some examples I find craftsmen in Spain, where it's still close proximity, but they are perhaps better at a certain technique that I couldn't find here. And the ethos also pushes, as well as trying to be local, in using sustainable materials. So it's Portuguese limestone, it's local limestone, Portuguese basalt. The upholstery is in a pure linen, 100% linen, entirely hand woven. The timber frame inside is with certified wood from within European forests, and it's like every detail, even the upholstery foam. It's a mix of natural and artificial materials rather than what's typically purely artificial. So there's a lot of research, a lot of time getting this. Well, it's a balance, but a balance more on the sustainable side. And I think it doesn't compromise on the luxury side.
It's a Lisbon Design, but I'm a bit of an anti-design because the things are all made individually by hand, and some of them take a long time, and it's not possible to repeat them. But at the same time, the entire work is connected to how we are all connected, how we are all made from the same material as this planet, and we're also made from the energy from the sun. So when you think about a tree, for instance, many people think that trees come from the earth, but the trees only use the earth a little bit. They're really made from our breath and from the photosynthesis of the energy of the sun. And so you could poetically say that trees are sunlight made solid. And then when you cut down a tree and you burn it, the fire is the energy of the sun that was stored in this piece of wood. And when you think about oil, which used to be forest 300 million years ago, that is also the energy of the sun that was stored in them. And the particles are usually burned, just go into the atmosphere, and then we have climate change, we have global warming. But this cake that was used here is actually made from diesel fuels. Usually the pollution particles are so small that the body cannot protect us against them. They just go straight into the bloodstream. But it's possible to collect them and to suspend them and create an ink. So this ink was made from diesel trucks specifically in Delhi. And then I mixed it with sumi ink, which is obviously Japanese ink, which is made from wood and from bones. And there's also some walnut ink in it, because all the different substances work differently, and so the pollution ink, the way it exists right now, is very different to anything. I learned my ceramics through an art project, really, because I started with drawings. I used to mainly draw, and then I did a project once where I drank 880 bowls of matcha tea over the course of a year. And I drank it from a specific cup that I had in my house that I got in Kyoto. And through that, I met the raku master Kyoshizu Sasaki. From this project, he invited me to meet with me and taught me how to make the cups through a process called kurinuki. So it's a salt piece of clay that is taken. I usually, with T-ball, I start around 850 grams, so almost a kilogram of clay. And I end up around 300 grams. So everything else is taken out. This was a piece of clay, and it is all shaped and carved. So you see I carve it like wood, I carve it around my hand, and then I fire it, or sometimes I break it, and then I fix it again. So it's an ongoing process. I'm not creating on an industrial scale, but rather try to put a lot of my energy and my thinking and my love into the objects. These are several glazes over maybe 3 or 4 firings, that's why they melt in a different way. And then also, this is obviously put together, and then this is a gold overglaze, which is, so the way gold overglaze works is gold, which is suspended in wood sap, and then it is applied as a substance, and then the wood sap burns off at a certain temperature, and then the gold emerges. The funny thing about gold, and I didn't know that, is that as we were talking about everything is coming from the sun, right? Gold didn't come from the sun. Gold comes from the collapse or emergence of larger galaxies, and all the gold that exists on Earth fell on Earth when Earth was created. Most of it actually went underground because it's so heavy, and all the gold that we see and that we find is like the gold that was left behind. So it's a very strange material that is truly cosmic. This is fired 7 times. So you can see the glazes are in layers, okay? This is a much more complex experience, yeah? And then this is fired 2 times, but it's fired with salt inside of an oxygen-deprived environment. So it's actually dangerous to do, and you can see the forces that were applied here, because the fire and the salt reshaped the object. So I didn't do this, this is what the fire did.
This is my work for Branca Lisboa, which is Branca is my brand. This is my work regarding chairs. we don't do just chairs. These are selection of the chairs we have been doing. I've been designing it. It's an ensemble, it's a group of chairs I've been developing the last 15 years. I work with both realities, the handmade and long tradition of Portuguese wood makers. I've discovered them, most of them in the north of Portugal, and I've been always trying to push them into a design culture they don't usually have. I feel it's an achievement because Portugal always did very good products, but mostly subcontracted by big companies, big European companies. They all usually come to produce in Portugal wood products, but they bring their designs, they bring their drawings. So I'm trying to be a Portuguese among them, and whenever I can, I get one of these very skilled craftsmen and I develop something. We still have this culture of doing small prototypes, small models. These are explorations around this. It's supposed to be wood, this is 3D printing, but you can see that it's not a very simple piece. But in fact, we arrive here together with the wood maker. So I learned with him how to connect this. This is from Barker. Barker is a chair, is there. We had one prize with his chair, for instance. This is Aranha. This was designed like something like, ooh, and it's made. So it's funnily it was just a sketch that I made it in one time, and finally I had the luck to find the right producer for this, because it's always about finding the producers, the partners, which is very, very difficult, and most of the time you have to teach them how to work with you, and they teach you how to work with them. So it's a process, and it's a long process. I made an exhibition in 2009, and this was the presentation. There was another room there, and all about chairs as well. The editor called chairman to this article, like, I don't know who is the guy. Is the guy with a lot of chairs? The chairman. Okay. So I thought, this is funny. Let's do the chairman.
From Lisbon to Porto and established my workshop in an old barrel maker's workshop near Porto, where in a traditional barrel maker's area where they used to build barrels for the Porto wine. I was really impressed by this industry, and I looked for the local supplier that used to supply this industry. I found one with a really old stock of French oak, because French oak is the wood for the barrel. That was there, it was dead stock, because the stock for the barrel making is this standardized smaller pieces. And since there's no more traditional barrel makers in the area, the stock was there for a long time, so it was perfect for me. There are still some barrels there in my workshop, and the signature of the barrel maker that used to work there was to make these fatter and wider barrels, and this really impressed me. And That's why I try to play and somehow pay tribute to this barrel maker and make design this with this more voluptuous form. Consider this piece and this one, like they split in two pieces with a metal rod. So to make it easy to transport, I can actually show you. So we just rotate to assemble. I'm disassembling now. So it is disassembling. It's actually really easy to put it together.
So this is in your house.